Do not urge me to leave you or to return from following you. For where you go, I will go.
There was a severe famine in Bethlehem, a town in the land of Judah. A man named Elimelech, his wife Naomi, and their two sons, Mahlon and Chilion, decided to leave Bethlehem to seek a better life in the land of Moab, a neighboring country. When they arrived in Moab, tragedy struck. Elimelech died, and Naomi became a widow. Despite this, Naomi's sons married Moabite women. Mahlon married Ruth, and Chilion married Orpah. For 10 years they lived in Moab, but then disaster struck again. Both Mahlon and Chilion died. Then Ruth and Orpah became widows. With no husband or sons left to support her, Naomi heard that the famine in Bethlehem had ended, and she decided to return to her homeland. She encouraged her daughters-in-law, Ruth and Orpah, to return to their families in Moab, where they might have a better chance of finding new husbands. Naomi felt that she had nothing left to offer them, saying,
"It is exceedingly bitter to me for your sake that the hand of the Lord has gone out against me."
Initially, both Ruth and Orpah insist on staying with Naomi. However, after further urging, Orpah tearfully returns to her people, while Ruth refuses to leave Naomi. In one of the most famous declarations of loyalty and love in the Bible, Ruth tells Naomi,
Do not urge me to leave you or to return from following you. For where you go, I will go, and where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God. Where you die, I will die, and there will I be buried. May the Lord do so to me, and more also, if anything but death parts me from you.
When Naomi and Ruth arrived in Bethlehem, they were poor and without resources. It was the time of the barley harvest, and Ruth, eager to provide for Naomi, went to work in the fields. According to Jewish law, landowners were required to leave the edges of their fields unharvested so that the poor and foreigners could glean, that is, gather the leftover grain. Ruth went out to glean in a field and, by divine providence, found herself working in the field of a man named Boaz, a relative of Elimelech, Naomi's late husband. Boaz soon noticed Ruth gleaning in his field and was impressed by her hard work and loyalty to Naomi. He learned about Ruth's dedication and sacrifices for her mother-in-law. Boaz instructed his workers to leave extra grain for Ruth and even invited her to share a meal with him and his workers. He blessed her, saying,
May the Lord repay you for what you have done, and may you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge.
Ruth returned to Naomi with abundant amount of grain, and Naomi realized that Ruth had been gleaning in Boaz's field. She was pleased because Boaz was a kinsman. Naomi then devised a plan to secure Ruth's future. She instructed Ruth to visit Boaz on the threshing floor at night after he had finished working. Naomi told Ruth to uncover Boaz's feet as he lies down and to lie at his feet. This act was symbolic and a way of asking Boaz to take Ruth under his protection as her redeemer. A redeemer is a relative who, according to Jewish custom, could marry the widow of a deceased relative to preserve the family line. That night, Ruth followed Naomi's instructions. When Boaz awoke and found Ruth at his feet, she asked him to spread his cloak over her, symbolizing his role as her redeemer. Boaz was deeply moved by Ruth's request. Boaz agrees to redeem Ruth, but he informed her that there is a closer relative who has the first right to redeem her. The next day, Boaz goes to the town gate where legal matters are settled. He met with the closer relative and presented the situation. This relative, however, declined to redeem Ruth because it would jeopardize his inheritance. Boaz then publicly agreed to redeem Ruth, took her as his wife, and preserved the family line of Elimelech. The union of Boaz and Ruth was blessed by God. Ruth soon gave birth to a son named Obed. The women of Bethlehem celebrate with Naomi, recognizing that Ruth's love and loyalty had brought her great blessing. Naomi, once bitter and full of sorrow, now found joy and fulfillment in caring for her grandson. Obed, the son of Ruth and Boaz, became the father of Jesse, and Jesse was the father of David, the greatest king of Israel. This made Ruth a direct ancestor of Jesus Christ, according to the genealogy given in the New Testament. Ruth's unwavering loyalty to Naomi and her selfless love are central themes. Despite being a foreigner, Ruth's actions embody the highest virtues of faithfulness and devotion. Even in the midst of suffering, loss, and uncertainty, God's hand is at work, guiding events toward a greater purpose. Ruth's story shows how God can use unexpected circumstances to fulfill his plan. Just as Boaz took Ruth, a foreign widow, into his family, Christ redeemed and bring all who believes in him into God's family.